I don't know. Why is golf making it so hard as a sport? Like, football's got it so right. Soccer's got it so right. Like, why are we always having these conversations with golf? Welcome back to episode 57 of the Loggerhead Golf Podcast. Today is kind of a take on In Between Two Ferns here, but we've got a little fake one. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so we've got Caleb out with a PGA section event along with Steve, our GM. So good luck in Myrtle Beach this week as they play the South Carolina Open. Speaking of tournaments, at this point it's become a little redundant to say, guess who won this weekend?
Scottie did it again.
Yeah. So either he really likes pitch and putt golf courses or he only wants to win tournaments that give out jackets for the trophy.
I'm probably going to go with the jacket there. I mean, at what point is every tournament just going to start creating making a jacket? Because they know if there's a jacket, Scottie's going to win.
Kind of goes back to the Shooter McGavin scene where he tells it's a 43 long in the left and a 44 in the right. They're going to kind of get that way with Scottie.
I mean, Scottie's inevitable right now. Yeah. It's unbelievable. I mean, what did he tie? Three other players for 6 wins before the month of July.
Yeah. He tied Arnold Palmer for that, and then he tied the 3 players for 6 wins in a single season.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like, we have to ask the ridiculous question, like, how many is he going to get to this year?
Yeah.
I mean, I think, like me, I'm thinking about things. I'm like, man, it's hard to win golf tournaments. Is it, like, part of me, like, wants to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't win any more tournaments, but he will still have the best season. Unless someone else, some other individual goes on a tear. I mean, but we only have, was that our last elevated event of the season?
Scottie won 4 of them.
Yeah, because when they come back from the Open, essentially playoffs start.
Yep.
He won 5.
Yeah.
He won 5 of the 8.
Yeah.
One of them, we're going to put an asterisk on Wyndham Clark's Pebble.
Yeah, since they called it due to rain.
But, I mean, it's unbelievable what Scottie's doing. I mean, I was sick last week, so I watched the most golf I've watched in a long time. I watched the LPGA, the PGA Championship, or KPMG Championship, and then I watched LIV Nashville. I watched the Travelers, and I mean, it was a great week for leaderboards, that's for sure. Yeah. And then that playoff was something else too.
Yeah, obviously you had Tom Kim and Scottie. They get up to 18 during the regular round, and Tom Kim essentially can hole it for the win and basically lips it, and it spins back. He drains the putt, but what happened before he drained the putt?
I mean, I was sitting there, and you and I were all texting back and forth, but it was the funniest scene ever. Is I just see like red smoke come up, and then I see the dude in the bunker, and I'm like, what? I was like, oh, they got, and I think even who's doing the coverage, CBS? Yeah, CBS was like, oh, we have a streaker situation, and I was like, well, it's not a streaker. And then next thing you know, the camera pans to the back of the green. There's like 9 cops on the green. There's people laying on the ground. And I'm like, man, the protesters have taken over the PGA Tour. I mean, what did their shirts say?
No golf for the earth or something, or for the dead earth or something.
No
like
golf
that.
If the planet's dead. Yeah. I think it was something like that. We're not a politics podcast, but there's just nothing that grinds my gears more than activists or protesters. I think it's the most ridiculous. Like that's not going to do anything to help your cause.
Well, the ironic thing about it is it said, dead earth, right?
It says no golf if the planet's dead.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
What do golf courses grow?
Grass.
And what's on golf courses a lot of? Trees? Yeah.
Some of them.
Okay.
I mean,
I was just we're not going to talk about it too much, but just throwing that out there.
But the crazy thing is about the whole situation is that the PGA Tour rules officials came out, the superintendent, they allowed Akshay to take relief from a temporary immovable obstruction, TIO, which was the paint.
Yeah, the chalk.
From so he got to move to have a clear line. And then you have Tom Kim having to make a putt to tie the tournament, and you just see the big splotch of red paint just to his right on the TV, but actually his left. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm like, what would have happened if paint went all over the hole there?
Yeah, I think they would have had to basically stop the tournament and clear the green because they thought about moving the playoff hole.
I was gonna say, I mean, do you think that they would probably come back the next day to essentially so where they could use the same pin location so they have the same putts and they get a freshly mown green?
I mean, I think with them doing, I mean, the grounds crew there, shout out to them because they did a phenomenal job getting it cleaned up, you know, for the playoff because there was talks of having to move the playoff hole. I mean, essentially in 15 minutes they had it cleaned up and it was gone like it never happened, minus some residual paint that was on the grass, which is why they moved the whole location in the playoff. So
It's a situation you never know because, like, other than every time I think of a fan, I think of when Webb Simpson won the U.S. Open, and then you had the guy come out and like squawk like a chicken. You remember that video? And then you had the streaker, the girl that streaked during John Daly's Open Championship win. I think that's what that was. Remember when she ran out and hugged him?
You had the Volkswagen run into the camera crew and Darren Happy's, playoff.
I mean, just golf, man. It's exciting, you know. Now, the funny thing is CBS cutting the audio because what the crowd was chanting.
Yeah, they were
chanting USA and then some other things that probably, aren't PG. Yeah, I was going to say not PG. PG rated, you know?
Yeah, I think that's what was cool, though. Like, when you hear the entire, the police did a phenomenal job getting it under control fast, and then the entire facility lights up with USA champs. I mean, that's pretty special.
Says something, man.
America's tired.
Back to back weeks where we're on the 18th green and there's USA chants.
Yeah.
Now, Rory was at the other side of it this past week. This week it was the protesters. So I do... Before we kind of move on from the signature, since this was the last signature event, I kind of have to say it, and I would say this is more like bar talk, where we're having a beer and we're just throwing out random thoughts. We do this all the time during football season. Is Scottie Scheffler winning these events? Like, he's the best player in the world. That's why he's winning events. But do we have to bring up the question that only competing against 69 other people make it a little easier? Now, I get the PGA says that this is the best field that they could provide, but you look at the leaderboard of who he beat. A lot of big names worked their way up into the top 10, but they backdoor top 10 that were never in the tournament. Like Wyndham Clark was never in the tournament. Had a great Sunday, never in the tournament. Tony Finau folded the last few holes, but he's not a needle mover.
Yeah.
I mean, so like you have to ask the question right now. Again, this is bar talk. But these wins for these signature events, is it easier to beat the other 69 players that are there? Or if this was a 150 player field, does Scottie Scheffler win this week? I mean,
I think it's a little bit tough.
We kind of have to start having that conversation, not discounting Scottie Scheffler himself.
Well, the reason it's tough is with the way that points are currently acquired. Once you get up into that top 20 position, it's really hard to fall out of it. So, I mean, again, Wyndham Clark's played every event. He's missed every cut with the exception of the win at Pebble. And then obviously he played good this week, but he never really fell in his ranking points. Where you've got players outside the bubble that are top 10ing every week, not getting in the bubble.
He deserves to be in that tournament because he won a major championship within the last year. But, I mean, I'm just sitting here wondering, you think about how, what do we always say? It's so hard to win on tour. Scottie's making it look so easy. Now, again, we know why he's making it look easy because he's the best ball striker, best player in the world, bar none. But is he making it look so easy because of who he's playing against? I mean, Jordan Spieth, we have to talk about it. He's a non-factor. So, you can't use Jordan Spieth as a sales pitch for these LIV events. You can't use Justin Thomas. So it's we have to say, I'm.
How much does it feel to apply to his success with these last couple signature events? Not the major, but the signature events.
I mean, I get it. Now, Tom Kim, he's been one of the top players the past 2 years. He finished second at the Open Championship last year on a broken ankle. I mean, Tom Kim's his best friend. I mean, so it was cool seeing them battle down the stretch. I mean, you have a couple, like Colin Morikawa, again, is continuing his form of great play. But, I mean, I love what Scottie's doing. I'm just ready for that next guy to step up to kind of
Give them a little push, make Sundays a little bit more fun.
I mean, because I know I'm probably going to get grilled for this, but of the 3 tournaments that have played that LIV players were in, Bryson DeChambeau has beaten Scottie Scheffler in 2 out of the 3 of them.
Yep.
I mean, so we kind of have to ask the question at what point is the fields too small to where it makes the wins
not as meaningful? Yeah.
Because I mean, now the players, like, think about the Players Championship. That was a full field, like, and he's
dominated.
Yeah, I like, that's what I'm saying. It's because he's the best player in the world. But I mean, we have to have a conversation for these elevated events going forward that 69 players just isn't really doing it.
Yeah. Well, there was a conversation on Sunday that Dottie Piper helped electrify a little bit that isn't being
Dottie
said.
Pepper.
Is Tom Kim taking 5 minutes at a golf shot, the slow play that continues to keep happening. It's kind of interesting. We always hear that slow play is a problem on tour, but they get warnings. Nothing's being done about it, and tournaments are getting longer and longer.
Oh,
and if you look at these pre-shot routines, they're getting longer and longer.
Yeah. So, I mean, the question that we brought up that we had for this week was, is slow play a problem on tour, or is every player gotten too routine specific?
Yeah.
And I mean, I have students that ask me weekly, they're like, hey, I need you to come up with a routine for me. And like, I do, but then I also like look at myself, like I kind of have to look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, do I do the same routine every single time I hit a golf ball? I'd be lying if I said I did.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of stepped up and hit it.
I'm a firm believer. Like, you take your time choosing the shot, choosing where you want it to land, and then it's like, okay, pull the trigger. So it's like, is Tom Kim just slow? Like, is he just Patrick Cantlay slow, or is he just like this modern age of where everything's so hyper analyzed and like he's just so routine specific? Because for me, it looked like his just process took way too long.
Yeah.
I mean, from choosing the club to getting over the ball to pulling the trigger, it was a mile.
Well, in the same coverage, you got Ludwig and Tom Kim playing lights out golf.
Ludwig is a godsend when it comes to
picks his target, and it's like a 6-second process.
Club out of the bag, the ball's gone.
Where Tom Kim, like the putt on 16, it took 24 seconds to set up to the ball, and then about 18, and then that's when Dottie just goes, well, this is just ridiculous.
Well, before that on the tee, or was it 15 or it was 15?
Yeah, he's frozen.
It's 15. Dottie goes, he's frozen. He did it again. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, Dottie's not having it today. I mean, and I love that. I love that when the TV, like when the on-course reporters kind of humanize the event, because that's exactly what we're saying. That's exactly what the fans are saying. So like when the announcers are trying to make everything look like, fairies and rainbows, like I like how Dottie was kind of grilling it on TV.
We've got so many new golfers that if they see that that's the correct way to play golf, and then they go to the golf course and play 6-hour round, it's going to cause this ripple effect.
Hey, I mean, free plug, but I mean, our boy Salty that was on, he put out a new shirt that says "Play fast, the ice is melting." Yeah, I mean, I think we talk about pace of play so much, but we brought up a few weeks ago, Miles had the question of like, what rules would we change? I finally have one. We need to there needs to be stroke penalties if you go over your time.
Well, they do it on the LPGA Tour all the time, but the PGA Tour never enforces it.
Yeah, because they use fines.
Yeah.
Right? And these players' fines don't mean anything. When last place in a non-cut event is going to pay $115,000, when you get fined at the end of the year for your time penalties or your bad times, $50,000, what is that?
Nothing.
Like, does that really affect you? Now, there's going to be players like Tyrell Hatton, like says, like when he was on tour and was getting fined for his swearing, he was like, trust me, it's not a lot.
But it would still scare you the amount that it was. But for him making the money, I mean,
he said he never thought about that. And has he stopped swearing?
Yeah.
I mean, but it's one of those things that it's just like what are we doing? The TV's always bad. And we're not just singling out Tom Kim. He's just obviously
the most relevant to this weekend.
He's the most relevant. I mean, I think there's a lot of players that are slow players that get bad times that we don't talk about. Tiger Woods was a slow player. I mean, we love to bash Bryson for slow play and all these players, but we don't bash the big guys. Tiger, you go back and watch the tournaments, he would take 3 or 4 minutes to hit a putt. He didn't start reading the putt until it was his turn. So like, it's not something that's just happening now. It's happened over time. I mean, but what can you do?
Yeah. Until they enforce it, we can only sit back and watch.
Now, other news, because we didn't bring it up, we might have called it last podcast. There was a 59 this week. 59. Cam Young, fantastic round. Shot 11. I'm going to say 11 under.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go my dad's route on this, but it wasn't 13 under. It was 11, but still shot 59. Now, should that count in the record book since it was ball in hand?
Yeah, because I think this is a spicy topic that's going to rub some people, which is okay. That's what we're here to do. When it's ball in hand, you can pick whatever lie you want to, and you're the best.
Within a driver length.
Yeah, and you're the best players in the world. Like, in my opinion, if you're not shooting under par with those conditions, then that kind of shows you where
pretty
you're
much
at.
everybody shot under par.
Correct. So, obviously, it's super impressive because even regardless of what par was, coming down the last 4 holes, knowing that, oh, I can shoot 59, again, regardless if it's par 70, 72, you know there was pressure there.
Yeah.
So the way he handled it was awesome.
I mean, you had to make a 10-footer, 12-footer?
For par?
For par on the last hole? Like, that's what I'm actually like. That's why I'm like, that's crazy. Like, the mental, to have the mental capacity to do that, right, is so impressive because you've been making everything. Everything has looked so easy, and then you step up to the last hole and you have to make a 12-footer with probably 1.5 foot of break. I mean,
was the 58 at Greenbrier ball in hand, or it was straight down, right?
No, it was down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Jim Furyk shot 58 there.
yep.
I mean, I think he shot a 59 and a 58. I mean, so like that's why we're saying like this golf course, it's a pitch and putt. It's been done. There's just a lot of scoring opportunities. Now you still have to go out and do it. Now I tell people all the time, like what's impressive is every single player on tour is good enough to shoot a 59.
Yep.
Right? It's just what, still
it's getting
doing
that
it.
streak, the streakiness of putting.
I mean, we've had a 59. We've had around a 59 every year since 2020. So, I mean, it shows that is equipment helping? Are these players just better? I think it's all encompassing. And obviously it takes the right conditions. Like for him, he went out really early on Saturday. Ball in hand, soft greens. I mean, what a contrast of the 2 golf courses this past week, from the Open to this past week, or to this week. I mean, it's inevitable to shoot that low. These guys are good. Especially
when it's set up kind of pitch and putt.
Yeah. But I'm happy Elevate events are over. I'm looking forward to, where are they at this week? They're at the Rocket Mortgage, and then the John Deere Classic.
And then Genesis, and then the Open.
Yep. So, and then playoffs. Now, I did want to bring up one more point, sorry, before we move over to, because we're going to talk about LIV. Is it fair? Like, I think about this in my mind. Scottie Scheffler only having a 2-stroke lead leading into the Tour Championship just sounds absolutely crazy to me.
Well, especially with the separation in points.
I think it's completely wild that somebody else could be a FedEx Cup champion this year. Now, if one individual player goes and gets 6 more wins between now and then and Scottie doesn't get any, that's a different conversation. But like right now, no one else should have a shot at winning the FedEx Cup. And I know they created this system because they didn't want this situation to happen, but it's like, this is merit-based. Scottie Scheffler has the points lead because he earned it.
Yeah.
I mean,
because I think if the second place and third place, so if Rory and the third place combined, it still doesn't equal half of what Scottie's
Rory
points.
and Xander's points combined don't add up to how many points Scottie Scheffler's ahead of him.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely wild. And the fact that, because you remember it happened last year, Scottie Scheffler had a bad first round at the Tour Championship and then couldn't recover. I mean, so it's just like, I don't know. Why is golf making it so hard as a sport? Like, football's got it so right. Soccer's got it so right. Like, why are we always having these conversations with golf? That's for another podcast. Positive news. LIV Golf tournament in Nashville this week. I mean, I watched all day Thursday, or not Thursday. I watched all day Friday. Obviously, they don't play on Thursday. But I watched the first round on Friday, watched majority of the round on Saturday when I got back from work. I mean, what an event.
Yeah, I mean, for Nashville, I mean, it seemed like all of Nashville was there. I mean, watching the grandstands, the party hole, I mean, it was crowded.
I'm going to give LIV credit because it seems like LIV is going to great sports venues. Like Nashville is a great, sports town. Obviously, it has a tourist attraction, but also, I mean, Titans have always had a big fan base. I mean, you have Smashville, the Predators, right? I mean, and for LIV to kind of go around these cities that already have like that sports fan base there that you just would go, like random people that don't know golf would go to that event.
They're feeding the machine.
I mean, was this their most successful fan turnout?
I believe I didn't get to read the whole story, but I think Australia was one, and for the U.S., this was the largest turnout in the U.S.
Yep. So, I mean, now you can't ask for a much better leaderboard than what LIV provided this weekend. Yeah, Bryson DeChambeau battling Jon Rahm, Tyrell Hatton. I mean, Lee Westwood was up on the leaderboard this weekend. I mean, think about those names. Right, and people are going to try to say that these tournaments are Mickey Mouse tournaments. I mean, come on. I mean, Tyrell Hatton ran away with it. He played awesome golf. He's carried it over from the previous majors. I mean, he finished at 19 under. Legion 23. This was their third or fourth win of the season. Bryson's team, the Crushers, they finished second.
More people got to touch the U.S. Open trophy.
Did you see the video of like Cam Tringali, Phil Mickelson, all the players line dancing?
Mm-mm.
It was so funny. They had like a welcome party and they were all wearing like white button downs, black cowboy boots, black cowboy hats. They're doing line dancing. Phil Mickelson was getting it, man.
Must have had that extra cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Wellness coffee.
Yeah. Have you been to Nashville?
I was actually supposed to caddy in this LIV event.
That's, yeah.
And unfortunately,
with that heat, oh my
with
gosh.
the pay that they offered and no travel expenses, I would have lost quite a bit of money. So
Kyle,
maybe next time.
You're paying for the experience.
Nope, not me.
Nashville's a fun time. Nashville's a fun time, so I can't imagine all the player perks that they got to have this week to go bar hopping and around that town. I mean, I've been. I loved it. We talked about this beginning of the year. If we were going to try to go to a LIV event, it's like, do we want to go to Greenbrier or Nashville? I mean, you can't really go wrong with either. But it looked like a fun tournament. Bryson obviously carried over his great play, but you could tell he just looked like
tired,
just looked like a ghost on Sunday. I mean, he lipped out a putt on the party hole and fell down. Now I'm wondering if he's going to start taking the flag out on putts because this ball was going dead center and it hit the flag and popped out.
Probably not.
Even Greg Norman was like, that ball would have gone in if it didn't hit that flag. But I mean, I think LIV's starting to grow up, people. Starting to see some hats go around of some teams. I would say my view on it after watching finally like a full day. I'm not a fan of the music.
Oh,
it's a little redundant to me.
I think one thing
I like party hole music.
Yeah, but not on every single hole.
I thought it was something different and cool at first, and I'm contradicting myself. I sound like a hypocrite now, but you could tell the players are just like, what are we doing?
They signed the dotted line.
Yeah.
I think being the dad of the group right now, I think the one thing LIV has to do is kind of like when you used to watch a show on MTV. It says fewer discretions.
Oh, 100%. I forgot about that.
The hot mics from this weekend. I mean,
there needs to be
getting worse and worse. And I know Tiger did it at every event. So
and here's my thing.
Yep.
It's no different than what we say on the golf course.
Correct.
That being said, when you turn on the TV and you hear just F-bomb after F-bomb, you sit there and you're like, oh, man, wow, this got serious.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, we learned Jon Rahm really loves drones this past event.
And we learned how Ian Poulter thinks of himself after he hits a bad shot. We've always known that. I mean, they made Tyrell Hatton this week look like a saint, like he's never said a curse word in his life.
Yeah.
Until both he and Dustin Johnson's ball plugged in the bunker next to each other. Because the first thing they came up, their balls were embedded in the bunker in the same spot. And Tyrell Hatton walks up and goes, "Who taught this course how to rake an effing bunker? What is this? Why is there so much sand in the face?" And the TV's just letting it go. Like, and he's ripping the golf course. I mean,
Such a Tyrell thing to do.
that's what happens when you put, obviously that's the European way, man. We know they like their curse words and
cigarettes.
but it's that you're exactly right. I mean, there was a few times where, I was like, I'm making a sandwich in the kitchen. I just hear the two. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, they made Samuel L. Jackson very proud this past LIV event. And I think that's the cool part, like where PGA Tour has got this struggle for coverage with the slow play, with everything. I mean, every LIV event's pretty much ran at 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
So their pace of play out there is, I mean, when coverage starts and when it ends, it's pretty much.
There's not a lot of waiting.
It's about 5 hours of total rewatch.
Yeah.
Where if you rewatch
they also start coverage on the range, which is awesome.
It's a little bit easier to watch if you're a fan wanting to watch golf shots, especially with the new interactive thing. You can click on any player.
Yeah,
it's a lot more fun to watch that than to watch commercials and putting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think they need to do something about the music. I think the on-course announcers need to get a little better.
Yeah, a little bit more energetic.
A little more energetic. A little more. Not just hyping up the players, actually explaining the shot. Now, they're doing a great job. CW's doing a great job with providing the mics with the caddies, the conversations, things like that. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that what they're doing on LIV is going to pull the normal golf viewer over to them. I mean, they have a long way to go there, but it's helped for sure. Anything else you kind of want to add? I mean,
no, I mean,
the writing was on the wall this week. Like,
it's pretty much, I mean.
Akshay was scared for his life. I mean.
I hate to say it, but for the first time, I think in our podcast history, he kind of called what was going to happen this week, and for the most part, got it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
let's get into a little show and tell. What do you think, Miles? Imagine this match at Bethpage Black. which squad you got? See, I mean, which squad you got?
Well, whoever's 22 and running their social media, pretty good play on words there.
Hey, I'm not an English guy, but
yeah. Well, clearly we're not. Have you listened to our podcast?
Brooks versus Bryson versus John Rahm and Tyrell Hatton.
I'm gonna go with,
this is Ryder Cup match.
Yeah.
Right here. Like, we're looking at a preview for next year. Because these two 100% will be a Ryder Cup pairing. And Brooks and Bryson will also be a Ryder Cup pairing.
I'm going to go with Brooks and Bryson because of short game.
I think Brooks and Bryson would win the match because Rahm and Tyrell are too emotional.
Yeah. My brain's working, like I'm thinking about the course conditions and equipment. Mm-hmm. As good as Bryson and Brooks Koepka are with wedges, and Bryson having the longer, heavier wedges, and Bethpage's rough being super thick.
That's a fair point.
So I'm my brain went straight to equipment and thinking about how Bryson's going to use his wedges around the greens a little bit more effective than the two.
I'll say this isn't going to be one of those matches, especially even at Bethpage, which Bethpage is like brutal off the tee. This isn't a match where like you're going to see one of these teams miss the fairway and then they lose the whole. Like all four guys are going to be in the fairway.
Yeah, they're all strong enough.
No, that's what. Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I imagine it's best ball, right?
You know, a quick point that I think we should make. Sergio's team's the Fireballs, right?
Yeah.
It's, they're wearing a flame on their head, so hot-headed. You've got the two hottest head guys out there in terms of emotional, and they've got a little lion on there or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, they're a lion, dude.
Yeah.
But
think about that.
All I know is is it Kieran Vincent that's like their fourth player? Like he's like down in the relegation zone. Like he's in like 50th place, but he's racked up 14 wins this year. He's loving life right now. But no, I mean, I'd agree. Brooks and Bryson. God, man, this gets me excited for Ryder Cup. Ryder Cup's going to be good next year, as long as whoever our captain isn't a dumbass like Zach Johnson. If played at the same time, who is taking home more wins in 1 year? 2000 Tiger, 2024 Scottie. 2000 Tiger.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing here?
This is going to be such a. I mean, if we clip this and ask the followers, this is going to be such an emotionally driven comment section.
No, the Tiger fan base is still psycho. They still think he's going to win majors. Scottie technically doesn't have a chance.
I would say the reason why the Tiger era is so impressive is that at that point, if Tiger got on the tee box, players were intimidated. I mean, if you think about the Tiger Slam, I mean, players were scared to be in that final pairing. If you listen to all these like biographies that are on TV, they even admit that. With the modern golfer, with Scottie, I mean, not to make it sound so silly, but he's a teddy bear. People want to just be around him. You know, him and Ted Scott. The intimidation factor's not there.
I'm going to say this. I think Scottie proved that point a little wrong this weekend in that playoff. But I agree with I do agree with you.
I would
in
say
that.
Tiger's run.
Well, what did Tiger always say? If I intimidate you, that's a you problem.
Yeah.
Like, bring that kind of golf back, man. I need to see, like, what, you know, where the players getting beers afterwards. You know, they're not going to their chiros and things like that and getting their feet massaged, and then they wake up the next day and want to beat the hell out of each other. Bring those days back.
Yeah, I mean, if we like break it down to like just the elevated events, like if Tiger had elevated events in his days, he would win every single one with a small field. He did it drastically with a full field, let alone a half-size field. So Tiger for me.
Yeah, I mean, in 2000, Tiger had 9 wins, which is tied for the most wins in a single season. So I mean, until Scottie Scheffler has 9 wins in a season, we can't really compare these 2 years.
So he needs 9 wins and 4 majors in one season.
Well, the 4 majors isn't going to happen.
Nope, not this year.
Tiger. Is that a LIV?
Yeah, it was the Game of Thrones chair, but out of golf clubs.
Have y'all watched House of Dragon? The first few episodes?
I watched episode 1.
So good. So good.
I mean, even as a golf fan, I think this is kind of lame. I mean, it's a bogey for me.
There we go. We got a rating. King of the Castle. Whose chair is this?
I think with the budget LIV has, they could have made this chair a heck of a lot cooler. I mean, you've got like a old MP. I mean, what is that? Like a 2004 Mizuno MP. You've got like a 2000.
I see a big berth. I see a big berth up there.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, this is. I mean,
like, don't get me wrong. It's a cool concept.
I've seen better replicas using golf clubs of the Iron Throne.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah, this is a miss for me. This is a bogey. I'm
gonna say it's a birdie because the intent was there with the premiere last week of House of Dragon being back on season 2. So I mean,
I don't know. Pig on a lipstick, still pig on a lipstick.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right, lipstick on a pig.
Jeez. All right, we need to. It's so hot in here, we're losing our minds.
Final thought: one pick straight off the queue for this week. Rocket Mortgage, Detroit.
Tony, is he playing this week? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't even looked at the groups. Or
I don't think Ricky's gonna defend.
I think Tom Kim, because they said Tom Kim's playing for like the 9th week in a row.
I think we're gonna see a new winner for this season, so I'm gonna take the field on this one.
Finally, we get to say the field has a chance.
Yep,
because it seems like
not playing.
Bingo.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on push bell notifications so you can see all the videos we upload, and we will catch you next week for the next episode.